Welcome back, fellow lords of gaming, and let's jump into another breakdown about this most recent dev note. So again, reminder, jump on the social medias, get on there and talk to the devs about things that you changes and things like you would like see. Comment in the section below, but be constructive about them. So let's jump into talking about Dark Zone. They immediately addressed Dark Zone, had a reconfiguration, and XP. They believe that a lot of the Marvel Future Revolution agents are fans of Marvel. Duh. One of their primary goals, though, was to inform players on the vast Marvel universe and provide an enjoyable experience. What I assume is that they wanted to open up people to content inside these areas. I don't know how they thought that this was going to do this for Dark Zone, but the dynamic stories that they're creating in each area and the regions will. However, due to the need to collaborate between various departments along with the current state of the world, constructing and developing a high fidelity world within the game is taking more time than expected. This is expected, and this is why I say be constructive. You have to remember that a lot of games have been developing over the past 2 years in a COVID environment. It's going to be hard in order to feel that games have been completed and finished inside there, because they're basically up against, the wall with these. They put a lot of thought into ensuring both a streamlined development for their game and satisfactory sense of growth for players, and they ultimately decided that Dark Domain alone did not provide sufficient opportunities for leveling up. As an alternative, we allowed for XP acquisition in a Dark Zone, but many agents have spoken up on the inconvenience of leveling up through this new method. They deeply regret this. Dark Domain, whether it exists or not, is probably the most efficient question for them as a development team here. I'm going to jump into that after I read these notes. The development team is considering expanding ways to earn XP, which is currently limited to the Dark Zone, while also increasing the number of Dark Zone non-PvP channels. We ask for your patience regarding this improvement, as this change will require delicate fixes to various in-game reward balances. Meanwhile, we expand the PvP disabled channels right away. They did do this, and they expanded them to 3 PvP non-channels and so forth inside here. There was a problem, guys. We have to get into this conversation. Does the Dark Zone need to exist? I'm going to tell you right off the bat, no. Dark Zone absolutely does not need to exist. It is a silly mode, and it's probably one of the most controversial modes. I understand the intent behind Dark Zone was probably to have alliance on alliance battles, but I think this could have been implemented way better. Let me explain. Remove the Dark Zone. This mode is absolutely unnecessary. When we play the game, and right now, if we were to log into specific areas, there are channels for each of those zones. What you should be looking at is having channels relegated to PvP on the open world. Remember, the point of an MMO is to maximize players' existence and their farming inside the open world, not inside these other individualized game modes. So remove the need for Dark Zone by creating PvP servers that exist in the open world. Give the mobs in the open world the XP values. Decrease the amount of XP that's being given for story completion elements, so that way players have a reason to grind zones in the open world. Improve the XP that's given on the PvP servers, so that way now players want to engage inside the PvP areas for control of grind locations, because they're going to get more XP, which would accelerate their growth. That makes it competitive, right? Now, inside the open world, we already have most wanted targets, right? And you are actually farming those most wanted targets. If you took away the reason that you had to limit the number of times we have to kill these most wanted targets, right? So instead of me just being able to kill Kingpin and generate these rewards right here, which are simple gold and small Omega card boxes, make battle badges drop from these things. Dark Zone battle badges. Make comic cards, Dark Zone comic cards that drop from these things, right? So now I don't necessarily need to have to worry about those characters being in the open world, because if they exist on PvP servers and they exist on PvE servers, now I have a reason to actually go grind out those things, because it's just battle badges, right? battle badges, you know, could be at my level regardless of how I'm farming those. I don't necessarily have to worry about the comic cards because we can put the comic cards inside Blitz. We can even expand on Blitz by having Dark Zone Blitz or Dark Bosses Blitz, something just a little bit harder in terms of Blitz mode, where we can get these Dark Zone badges, these Dark Zone comics drop, right? But create the element where create the elements where you want players to actually fight across a battle space, you only need to actually add PvP servers, right? Add dark prime targets like the Dormammu event that's currently going on. This event is perfect, and it just shows exactly how you could have implemented this in a huge way. If you go inside the game right now, guys, there's an event going on called the Dark Dimension Invasion. And inside this right here, you basically see that each city cluster, they should have put this across more city clusters, but they basically have the Dormammu event, and you go to those locations, right? And when you go to those locations, they could have had this on a PvE server where the rewards would have been a little bit less in terms of what they would have been compared to a PvP server, and that would have engaged alliances to want to, especially strong and weaker alliances trying to grow, reason to jump on the PvP servers and engage the Dormammu event. So that way, I'm like, well, I'm going to get more rewards there, so I'm going to get to the actual zone token damage by there, and then I can just make the rewards less. So that way, people that don't want to deal with the PvP can just get, you know, similar at level rewards. You know, maybe they're 20 to 30% lower than what they are inside the PvP servers. So now, like, okay, the cost of dealing with PvP isn't worth it to me, so I join in on the PvE servers. But the cost of dealing with it, because I enjoy PvP, gives me a reason to do it on the PvP servers instead. And you can drop these events so that way now players have to grind those areas. They have to legitimately be like, hey, you know what? I'm going to jump inside those areas and I want to fight people inside PvP. There goes another option for you guys for the dark domain, dark zone, right? By removing it, we have regions, and you said that you wanted to make it specific so that way players are enjoying the region and the stories in those areas, right? Why don't you add regional control onto these areas? What do I mean by that? And guys, follow me on this one because it's going to be hard to visualize. But if you play any other MMO RPGs, you probably have seen this mode before. But basically, if I go over here to the map, right, their intent is to add regions into the game. So we've got Hydra Empire, New Stark City, Omega Flight, Mid-Earth, and each of these regions have smaller zones. So like if I move to the Dark Zone, I didn't want to move to the Dark Zone. Why did I'm so fucking stupid. But if I move to New Stark City, for instance, right, New Stark City is one region, and then beneath those they have subsections, right? So they, like, whatever you want to call these sub regions or sections or whatever. Make it a fight for these regions, like control of these regions. So like if I'm on a PvP server, for instance, now, you know, alliances have a reason to show that they exist, their names. You know, I can jump into Operation Base Pegasus because the bosses that are inside this area dropping these valuable resources that I want to protect as an alliance. So now my alliance controls this region inside here. If any other player wants to get inside these regions and stuff like that, then they can jump inside here and they could fight my alliance for control of those regions. Put a boss, a Dark Zone Prime boss like Dormammu inside that area where he's the region control boss, right? So when he appears at set times or whatever, your alliance has to defend that Dark Zone Prime target. Meanwhile, their alliance has to freaking fight against your alliance and the Dark Zone Prime target. So now I have a reason for alliance on alliance battle to happen, and I have reason for people to care about these regions and these story contents because, hey, I'm a fan of Thanos, and Thanos is going to appear inside a new region in space or whatever. Maybe he's going to plop his ass down inside Xanderth, and I really like Thanos. So my alliance is deciding that we're going to take over the Thanos region because whatever battle badges and comic cards that he's dropping, we want to have exclusive access to. You want them on the PvP server because the PvP ones are better than the ones on the PvE server. Now I have a reason for my alliance to invade your alliance on their PvP server, and now I have a way to say, hey, I'm going to be part of this and we're going to engage on it. You have to give some players some reason to do those things. I think things like that is going to be the best thing. because when you look at it, this is similar to like alliance control regions. If you played like, you know, Arcade BDO and all these other MMORPGs, they already have this in like Node Wars and you know, alliance region control and housing and stuff like that inside there. It's the same thing like an alliance conquest inside Marvel Future Fight, which never really felt completely thought out in regards to, you know, what you were actually battling for and what these region controls were. Like basically inside Alliance Conquest, I can't pull it up because I'm having troubles with my emulator, but Alliance Conquest Marvel Future Fight, you would jump in and it was like a map of New York City, and you're fighting for various region controls, and I set a character inside those areas. Well, now we make it dynamic because it's in the open world, right? The open world is PvP versus PvE. So inside the open world now on the PvP servers, I have a reason to be like, no, my character controls New Stark City. My alliance controls New Stark City. And we're plopped down inside there. We're limited to like certain players inside, number of players inside the alliance. So people with bigger alliances, you know, like freaking Sigma has like 3 or 4 different alliances that make up Sigma. Now I can jump inside here and be like, yo, you know what? Xandurf is the reason that we control. And inside Xandurf, we control 2 of the 3 regions inside here. You want control of those regions to be able to come and attack the bosses and the, you know, prime targets and stuff like that are coming. Guess what? Your alliance has to invade my alliance, and we're going mano a mano. And there's times where we have to defend, and there's times when you can attack, and there's times when you defend. And you can make them the same exact Dark Zone time. So 12-1, or whatever is it now, 11-1, and from I think it's like 9 to 11. 9 to 11. Those are times for attacking, you know, attacking and defending. So your alliance needs to make sure that, you know, you're communicating with your player base so that way everybody who can attack or could defend inside there is there during those times and ready to play. The other alliances can invade those regions and take them over. And if they get rewards, they get better and improved battle badges. Maybe those characters normally drop, you know, 2 to 3 star battle badges, but then or battle badges and comic cards specific to Dark Zone prime targets. This gives you reason to create something that doesn't have to just deal with pay to win, because any player can earn those by being on alliance that they enjoy being with, and it involves player communication, and it also remains the modes are still put within inside of the open world. Players that don't feel like engaging inside the stuff and they can be inside the PvE zones can simply go, yeah, you know what, there's regional bosses that are spawning inside this area. We have to team up during these times in order to take down these bosses. Dormammu is appearing inside Xandurf. And inside the PvE zone, he's there. Nobody controls the region, and I don't really care about who controls the region, but we need to team up during this time because we need to accumulate damage. So make the damage numbers even bigger. So now the Dark Zone badges and stuff that drop in those areas are Dark Zone comic badges, that battle badge, whatever, you know what the fuck I'm trying to say. Battle badges and comic cards that would drop from those bosses inside those areas that are invading these zones. Now I have it in a PvE sense that I can just go team up with a few players, a group of players, you know, instead of just being the number four players or whatever. It's going to take maybe, you know, 12 to 15 players in order to take down this one boss that has invaded this area at 12 o'clock, you know, 11 to 1, and from 9 to 11 or whatever. And now we have a reason, and we're still in the fucking open world. That's the main point. And so all the game content is generated towards the open world. You're doing it right now with the freaking Dark Dimension event. You're doing it right now. And all you needed to do was remove this dark domain. This thing is terrible. It's one of the most like eschewed things in the game. And the only reason why people even participate in it is because they're now grinding out mobs. Nobody enjoys parts. I don't even know. I wonder if like whales even enjoy this mode. It's not true alliance on alliance activity because we're all battling over these things, but we're just like kind of hitting and running. And it just, you know, we're leeching and stuff like that. It's not a fun mode. It's just really, I get the intent of the mode, you know, but it doesn't really it doesn't facilitate anything. You know what I mean? Like, it's weird. It feels absent. And I think they understand that when they said those things. So I think like the problem with the game at its core right now is that there's a misunderstanding about the game mechanics related to MMO, and that you need to be driving players' desire to want to stay engaged in this game, not playing other games, but stay engaged in this game and be in the open world, not inside these individualized game modes. And this is a way, another way, like if you watch my earlier video, I talked about changes to Blitz so that way people were more engaged in fighting characters inside the open world, but having reason to jump into Blitz, where you still only have certain amount of rewards per day that you can do and why you would grind those, as opposed to here removing a game mode and merging it with the open world so that way you don't deal with any of that stuff. Let me know what you guys think in the comment sections below. Their thoughts on mines. I don't know that Netmarble will ever see my small channel. I wonder if, you know, if you're a whale, you're a bigger YouTuber and you happen to see this video, let me know what you guys think in the comments. I appreciate it. All right, guys, until next time, peace.